Welcome to the Enchanted Piper. I'm Richard, coming to you once again from my backyard in lovely Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's a perfect autumn evening. We've got yellow leaves, beautiful temperature, no wind, and a tankard of fine quarter Celtic ale, and a pipe to go with it. So I hope you're having a lovely evening as well. This is a channel devoted currently to new pipe smokers who are trying to get over that new pipe smoker hump. I myself am new to the art of pipe smoking, so I think my perspective as a recent pipe smoker might help people with their difficulties getting up to speed, because pipe smoking, there's so much information to take in, it can be quite confusing. So this episode will be about what type of tobacco do you like to smoke? Well, if you're new to the art of pipe smoking, you don't know. I certainly didn't. When I started this, I just went to the tobaccos and was sniffing them, and the ones that smelled the best, thought, this is what I want to smoke. So the ones that smelled the best, obviously, were aromatic tobaccos that had flavoring added to them to make them smell the best. That's what it's for. So that's what I started with. Unfortunately, I also didn't know anything about pipe smoking, so I was incinerating the heck out of the tobacco by having my lighter turned up to blowtorch level because I was trying to keep my pipe lit, and it was going out, and that was embarrassing for me. So we have a previous video, which there'll be a link in the description, about how to pack your pipe and keep your pipe lit without having to do that, without having to relight frequently. On the other hand, if you have to relight, that's no big deal. Pipes go out. Sometimes it's actually desirable. It'll cool down the tobacco, make for a better smoke. At any rate, after I started smoking tobacco, I started looking into other different tobaccos and realized there is a huge breadth of tobaccos that one might consume. There's not just various different blends from various different blenders, but also different types of leaf. And so it was almost overwhelming. So what did I like to smoke? I had no idea. So what I did was I figured out the main categories of tobacco that one might smoke in a pipe. And then I went to the smokingpipes.com website and went to their bulk tobacco section and went to the Cornell and Deal portion of that, just because they had a lot of bulk tobaccos, and ordered 1 ounce of a variety of different tobaccos to create myself sort of a sampler kit, so I might be able to figure out what it was that I like to smoke. And so I'm going to tell you about that today, so that if you wish, you could recreate this on your own. Go through your own adventure in trying to determine what it is that you like to smoke in your pipe. So of the tobaccos that I ordered, there are some major categories. Those major categories are Virginia Perique blends, Latakia blends, English blends, which have, in this case it was a Scottish blend that has Latakia and Perique, Dark Fire Kentucky, and Burley. Okay, those are my major categories. I was trying to determine what these different types of leaf tasted like, and which one I would enjoy most when smoking. So let's go over these a little bit. So Virginia tobacco is a tobacco that is pretty high in sugar content. This is, I guess, good and bad, depends what you want. In this case, for tobacco, the higher the sugar content, sort of the lower the nicotine content, and those scales go up and down. So Burley, which is another category we'll be talking about, has almost no sugar and therefore has a much higher nicotine content. Okay, so Virginia, having a higher sugar content, lower nicotine content, is going to smoke sweeter, as you might expect. Okay, now Perique is really interesting to me. There are videos on the Cornell and Deal page that will they tour their Perique farm in St. James Parish, Louisiana, and explain the history of Perique, and I recommend those highly. Perique is entertaining, interesting, because it is as close to as an heirloom tobacco as it's possible to get. These are the types of tobacco that were originally grown in Louisiana by the native Choctaw and Chickasaw people when the white people first showed up. And what the native peoples would do is they would take this tobacco and they would pressure ferment it by stuffing the tobacco leaves in like a hollow log, putting a bunch of rocks on top of it for pressure, and then burying it for a year. Speaking of pressure fermentation, I have here a jar of Hawaiian and Thai chilies. You can just see that bubble going along the edge there. That is a glass weight pressing down on those chilies. And that gas coming out is CO2 because it is fermenting. So we have pressure fermentation making something else delicious. So this is a extended manufacturing process to come up with the finished product. After the year they dig it out and they have a tobacco that has fermented over that time that has changed substantially from what it used to be. What it used to be was a strain of burley. What it is now is, it's like the difference between a raw cabbage and sauerkraut. Kinda. Okay? So the nicotine content has been more or less erased. It's decidedly reduced, but the flavor is enhanced, if you ask me, significantly. So there's a lot of pepperiness, there's some fruitiness, there's depending upon what blend you're getting in, it'll highlight different sections of that flavor, and I think it's fantastic. Now, this is the thing. When I was I still am a new pipe smoker. When I was very, very starting out, I was reading about pipe tobaccos you might like to smoke. And one of the things I constantly saw was like you avoid Periques and Latakias because they have these very strong flavors that you're not going to like. Well, I do. I really do. I'm also from New Mexico, as you didn't tell by the shirt and the name of the channel. In New Mexico, we have lots of very strong flavors in our foods. We got lots of chili. Our beer, not this one this evening, however, most of our beers made in Albuquerque are the best IPAs on the planet. Period. I don't know where you're from. You might be from San Diego and you're thinking, hey, Stone's right down the street, buddy. Don't care. Our IPAs are better. One of the reasons is we have very hard water, so chemically that works with the hops really well to make a really good, really bitter beer. So if you have an IPA somewhere where you are, it's cute. It's probably good. It's just not as good. At any rate, we have very strong, flavorful beers. We have very strong, flavorful foods. So I'm used to very strong flavors. So the whole stronger flavor of the Perique was something I enjoyed pretty much immediately. Okay, so Virginia, sweet. Perique, more flavorful, peppery, fruity. There's a bunch of stuff going on in there. Okay, Latakia, the next major component, would be a tobacco that is harvested and then smoked for a very long period of time over softwood, medium heat fires. So this is going to be months worth of smoking this stuff, which means when you smoke it, guess what? It's smoky. It's got a campfire sort of situation, which I also find quite enjoyable. I'm a big fan of Islay scotches. So like an Ardbeg, campfire in a bottle, good thing. Latakia, also a good thing for me. So yeah, also immediately like Latakias, despite what everybody said. Another benefit to Latakia is it's almost like the charcoal of tobaccos. So you can get like wood and you burn it in a low oxygen environment and it becomes charcoal. And the next time you go to do your barbecue with it, it's easier to light. It can produce higher heat, that sort of thing. Now with Latakia, because it's been sort of charcoalized, if you will, it's not charcoal, but it will look black in the flake, and you'll see that when I get to the individual blends. The Latakia is, because it's become processed in that way, it is easier to light and burns cooler, which makes for a cooler smoke, which is also more pleasurable. So another benefit of Latakia. So the English blend, which is like a major category I talked about. English has kind of everything thrown in the mix, if you will. So there's going to be a huge variety of English blends, and each individual blender will have a different take on that, and they're all going to taste different in some way or the other. So you can have to sort of determine what English blend you might like if you do in fact like English blends. English blends are a combination of Virginia leaf, Turkish leaf, which is Turkish and Oriental leaves are they're spicier. There's like a little pepperiness to them, which I also like. Burley, which we will talk about in a minute, Latakia, and if it's Scottish, they throw in some Perique. Although the definition of what a Scottish blend and what an English blend is fluid, to say the least. At any rate, the next type of tobacco we're talking about is dark-fired Kentucky. Dark-fired Kentucky is a burley leaf that is processed in a wooden shack over a hot, burning hardwood fire. So this is similarly processed to Latakia, but it's a hot wood fire, so it's not smoking as long, and it winds up tasting like barbecue. It tastes like the barbecue smoke almost, which once again is great because who doesn't like barbecue? I don't know, I certainly do. So the dark-fired Kentucky is delicious, but being a burley, it also has a decently high nicotine content, which we'll get to here when we're going to start talking about the burley. Burley, like I said before, no sugar, lots of nicotine. This is the one that I found that I didn't like very much. Not because the flavor is off, but because I've never been a smoker before, and the nicotine would make me trip. Like if I smoke a heavy burley blend, I have trouble getting through a bowl. Like I can put it down and like walk away for a minute because I'm starting to hallucinate. Like it's too much for me. So I found out I myself don't like the burleys. They don't taste bad. They're sort of bready, a little nutty sort of a thing, but they're too high in nicotine for my frequent consumption, shall we say. And dark-fired Kentucky shares a little bit of that, which is a drag because it's really flavorful and tasty. So anyway, I made a sample kit where I learned all this stuff I've been telling you. So what did I get in my sample kit? So for Virginia's, I got Cornell and Deal Yorktown.
Oh, this is the Cornell and Deal Yorktown. You can see in there are two different colored leaves of tobacco. One is kind of a yellow, one is kind of a red. So the red is red Virginia and the yellow is bright Virginia. So that's the entire components of this 100% pure Virginia blend.
So moving on to the Vapors Virginia Perique blends, I chose some blends that were as high in Perique as I could possibly get in the Cornell and Deal bulk lineup. Okay, you could actually just get to straight blending Perique and straight blending Latakia and stuff, but I didn't actually do that. Might have been a better thing to do. I don't know. I think it might have been also too much, which is why I chose not to do that, because like maybe 100% Perique is just way over the top and it would be off-putting. I don't know if I've ever had it, but I do know that I do like a 50% Perique, which we'll get to in a minute. So anyway, the vapors I got were Bayou Morning.
This is the Bayou Morning. Now, Bayou Morning has red and bright Virginia plus 25% Perique. So the darkest leaves, you can see some right over sort of here, those would be the Perique. They, as they ferment, get darker and darker and darker. So you can still see the red and bright Virginias that you saw in the blend previously, plus that delicious, delicious Perique.
All right, the other vapor I got was the Cornell and Deal Exclusive.
This is the Cornell and Deal Exclusive, which is red Virginia, black Cavendish, and 50% Perique. So we didn't talk about Cavendish previously. Cavendish can be either burley or Virginia tobaccos that are that undergo an aging process. They don't tend to have much flavor on their own. They tend to carry flavors from other tobaccos. So you see there's more darker leaves in this particular blend and a lot of that red Virginia sort of sitting there on top.
Okay, moving on to Latakias. So the Latakia blends that I chose were Cornell and Deal's Star of the East.
All right, this is the Star of the East. And one thing you can't do, because you're watching this on, probably your phone, is you can't smell that. As soon as I took off the top, you can smell the smoke from that Latakia. And you can see the Latakia over here being, let's see, like my finger right here, being all black, right? So Star of the East is 50% Latakia, and then Turkish leaves and stoved red Virginia. I really, really like this. It's smoky and spicy and sweet, and I don't know, super tasty.
And the other Latakia blend that I chose was Cornell and Deal's Billy Bud.
Right here we have the Billy Bud. This is, once again, 50% Latakia with burley, bright Virginia, and cigar leaf. So there's more sort of browns in there, but you can also, just like the last one, smell that smoke when you take the top.
Okay, next we have the one Scottish blend that I picked up from Cornell and Deal, although I have other English blends in my cellar right now that I tend to smoke a lot of Englishes. I really, really like an English blend. But the one I picked up for my sample kit, which taught me that I liked English blends, was the Cornell and Deal's Bayou Night.
Now we have the Bayou Night, which, well, you can tell there's not that much left of it, so obviously I really enjoy this blend. I mean, it smells fantastic with the Latakia and the Perique, the Turkish blends. So this is Virginia, Turkish, Burley, Latakia, and Perique, and is just delightful.
Dark Fire Kentucky. The Dark Fire Kentucky heavy blend that I got was Cornell and Deal's Shelbyton.
Now we have the Shelbyton, which is the Black Cavendish, Bright Virginia, but in this case the important part is that Dark Fired Kentucky, which, let's see if I can, this is where you can see right here, there's a big hunk of it. So that's, kind of, I mean, it almost looks like barbecue. And it is, it's really fantastic. I like it. It's just got more nicotine than I would prefer.
And lastly, the Burley blend that I got from Cornell and Deal was Old Joe Krantz's Blue Label.
And now I have the Old Joe Krantz Blue Label, which is dark and white burley. And I'm sure I don't need to tell you which leaves are which.
Now that Old Joe Krantz Blue Label, I don't smoke very much because, well, I barely smoke at all. I smoked it a couple of times to determine that, man, I can't deal with the nicotine content because it's 100% burley. It's dark and white burley. The nicotine content is very high, and I just have difficulty dealing with the effects of that. At any rate, hopefully this has been helpful for you in possibly making your own tobacco taster kit, determine what tobaccos you might like to smoke. I hope you'll have a pleasant evening. I certainly will. I'm going to fill and light a pipe right now to have with the rest of my ale. So have a wonderful evening wherever it is you are, and we will see you again soon.